Hi, I'm an artist called Strange. After over 20 years of watching tutorials and working in Logic, I wanted to make a quick video that concentrates together some of the most valuable key command settings and other tricks that I've learned along the way. If you're a longtime user of Logic, I'm sure that this video will come in handy just to get back to the fundamentals you might have skipped over or forgot. If you are brand new to Logic, don't worry, pull out your notepad. I'm going to cover a lot of very useful information rather quickly. Okay, so jumping into it, I recently met with an old classmate from SF State and they were still using these sliders. And I really don't recommend using these, and if you do, limit it to very rarely, because what I had done, similar to my old classmate, and yeah, you could do it this way, it's just a little obsolete, we forgot that we can hold Command and hit the arrows. So, little rhyme to help you remember it: if the grid is too wide or narrow, hold Command and hit them side arrows, okay? And this also works vertically, so if you're feeling like Yertle the Turtle, Command arrow to zoom in and out vertical. Or another way to say is, to zoom in and out vertical, Command up and down to pull it all into a wormhole. Don't use the sliders in the corners, that's some old shit. Just press Option as you hold the click. You can continue to zoom in. Right? I'm just going to use Command to get out of there again. But yeah, you can get in on anything, and one thing I want to show you real quick before we move out of this is it's always going to zoom in like wherever the track head is. So if we go ahead and hold Option again and drag the little lasso over any area we want, it could be large or small. Right now I'm going to choose rather small. And you see it's going to zoom right in with the track header slightly moving, but not by much. Okay, now bring this all back in this way. Now there's got to be an easier way than this Command arrows. Strange, what's going on? Okay, yeah, I'm going to show you an alternate method here. So say I've got this right here, I want to just look at this one right here. Then I can click in the background, hit Z, and it's going to size it perfectly, which basically does the jobs of these buttons. Oops, sorry, this button here, which compacts it vertically, which I still do sometimes use that. But try to make a habit of just clicking in the background and pressing Z, and it just brings everything into focus very nicely. Another way to remember this is, after you deselect everything in the background, press Z. Now you can view the whole project effortlessly. These are the methods that you need to use, y'all, because Z makes selected regions huge or small. These are the methods that you need to use, y'all. Pressing Z will make your regions huge or small. A Z to zoom in and a Z to toggle out. Now that's what I'm talking about. I'm aware I've gotten really redundant on just that one, but this seems to be a major problem for a lot of producers, so I'm going to be moving on now. It's just that this world is filled with exasperating fools who never learn to use Logic's navigation tools. And the beauty of this program is we all use it differently, but very few will ever execute it consistently, which is crucial to do in this competitive industry, so I'm going to show you how to edit efficiently. Okay, now applying the same method to tracks instead of regions. These are regions, these are tracks. So real quick, you just got to throw in an extra little key command. You select the track, as I just did, and you hold Control-Z to expand and contract like an OG. Again, select track and hold Control-Z to expand and contract like an OJ. Okay, so this also works the same in the live loops and sequencer, and we can do our editing in any way that we prefer. And this can get rather hectic when you got the wrong track selected, but Control-Z brings it back exactly how we left it. So I'm going to do Option B, which brings my live loops into grid. Just so you know, pressing Option B again is not going to close it. It's not a toggle. You got to go over here. Hopefully I just saved somebody a huge headache. That bothered me a lot at the beginning. Option B will not close it, but it'll open it. And then while we're in here, we can apply that same Control-Z to the live loops. Oops. tracks. Control Z. Expand and contract like an OG. Now I'm going to create a pattern region right here. Let's see. Because there is no way to open, there's no key command to open the sequencer, as you may be aware. But I just wanted to open it up real quick so I can show you that that Control Z is going to work just the same here for expanding and contracting specific tracks. Okay, for this next one, you hold down a lot of keys. Hold Control and Option plus Command and Z so that multiple tracks expand and collapse with ease. So first we're going to select multiple tracks and then say the rhyme again. For this next one, you got to hold down a lot of keys. Command and Z plus Control and Option. Okay? Control, Option, Command, Z. And it expanded them so well you just can't, they're not even on the grid. Should have closed that first. But as you can see, I can expand a selection of tracks as well. See, I select them all. And I just hold these 4 down. And the way that I remind myself about this is it kind of feels like I don't know, like an animal paw, some weird sort of, it's like some form of kung fu, dragon fist or something. Maybe badger toe. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. This is a really good one. For the next one, you got to hold down a lot of keys. You got to hold Control, Option plus Command and Z so that multiple tracks expand and collapse with ease. But check it, this is only for the tracks that you've selected. Now, I want to address an issue that I had many times when I'd get this thing so small. Sometimes Logic doesn't recognize it. It's really hard to grab it. So what you can do is you can just press Shift while it's in this form, while the cursor is in this shape. Hit Shift and it all goes back to equal sizing. Another really great one about this, and I have a rhyme, hold Option and drag the borders between the track headers to cause exact measures. So we can see that better. Alright, so as it says in the rhyme, we're going to hold Option and drag. Right, and what it does, oh sorry, I got to make one of these smaller and you can see a little clearer. So it allows me to maintain the relative sizing, unlike Shift that's just going to equal size everything. Okay, again, so that's hold Option and drag. Let's make them different sizes again real quick. Okay, hold Option and drag. The borders between track headers. Oops, the borders, that is. Hold Option and drag the borders between the track headers to cause exact measures. So we can see that better. Okay, now this next rhyme's pretty fun. Now select a region and press Command and minus and equal to zoom in on a waveform so you can see it well. Minus and equal so you can see it well. I think minus and equal are already kind of alluding to what they are, but minus and equal so you can see it well. Okay, this one's a little more advanced, but it's really not that difficult to understand. It's Shift Control Z. A quick way to remember the position of the keys is the key command is shaped like an uppercase T. And the T is the place where you can launch a golf ball. Like the cycle range is where it all starts and stops, y'all. Kind of stupid there, but just trying to get something in your memory. I generally only use this to record where my cycle range is at. Now I want to keep things kind of snapped to that. So then, I'll hit Shift Control Z. You can see it flashes to note that it's acknowledging that. And then I zoom in over here. And then when I just hit by tapping Z a couple times, it's always going to be one of my main perspectives. So I can go over here, arrange this, edit that, maybe go all the way over there. It's going to bring me right back just by tapping Z. Isn't that nice? You can toggle between 2 different parts of the song. Invaluable tool that at first I skipped over. I think in my first Logic tutorial groups I had been learning so much I just didn't see the value of this one, but I'll tell you, now I sure do. And I can guarantee the audio professionals out there are really using this one a lot. So again, a quick way to remember the position of the keys is the key command is shaped like an uppercase T. And a T is a place where golf balls get launched. So keep hitting Z and you can start right back where you want. Okay, now in the sampler we don't have a lot of room, but Control Option Shift Z is vertical auto zoom. Sampler, we don't have a lot of room, but Control Option Shift and Z is vertical auto zoom. I'll just expand this out a little bit so you can see what I mean. Say we zoomed in really close on a specific part of a file inside of the sampler, and Control Option Z. So it's instead of Control Option Shift Z, which is vertical, it's just Control Option Z. We'll do it horizontal, kind of like your promiscuous role models. So that's going to be Control Option Z with it selected. I wanted to address this real quick. Isn't it cool how Logic can have a pattern region, which opens the sequencer when you double click on it or press E, and we can simultaneously have a piano roll in the same track. You know, I'm not going to go too deep into this because I just noticed it while I was making the tutorial, and it actually, I'm not sure if it opens a world of possibilities or not. Maybe there's some severe limitations to it, but I just thought, wow, isn't that cool? So I digress. By pressing E, we can open up the editors. All right, and then let's just talk about Shift, Option, and Arrowz to transpose by semitone in the piano roll. So I'm just going to create a MIDI note here real quick, and I'm going to do Option and Arrowz, and you can see it's transposing by semitone, which means one step on the piano, whatever it is. Some of these are half steps, full steps, whatever, but it's just going to move by whatever a semitone is. Conversely, if you press Shift, Option, and Arrowz, as all advanced users I'm sure already know, then you can go by octave. As you can see, it's the same note, just in different octaves, going up and down by 12 semitones. Okay, now it works differently in the step sequencer, so it can transpose instead the notes behind. Well, I got to make a cell first. Okay, Option, as you can see, it transposes every row by that half a semitone when I'm doing Option and Arrowz here. So by one semitone with Option and Arrowz, and if I do Shift Option, you can see the letters in the note name don't change, but their position on the keyboard does. G1, G2 going up. As you can see, it moves slightly differently than it would here in the piano roll, where it actually just moves the note. And I just thought I'd mention that. I think some of you may find that really useful. Maybe you didn't know it worked like that. If the Ghostface killer was an audio engineer, I think you might say it like this. Shift and Option plus the up and down arrows will transpose all the octaves by 12 rows. The technical term is 12 semitones, which as you can see here in the piano roll. Just being silly, y'all. Now moving on, one of the greatest key commands I've ever seen is by far Shift and Option with Command and T. One of the greatest key commands I ever seen is Shift, Option, and Command T. And the way I remember Shift Option, and go back to this real quick, is because remember Shift Option is also up and down here, which I use so often, as well as, say if I go right here and I hit Command T on the selected region rather, then it's going to split that right there. We'll just undo that. So since I'm so used to using Command T as well as Shift Option, this one was really easy for me. If you're an absolute beginner, it might not be as easy for you. So just, memorize the rhyme that I just told you. Shift, Option, Command, T. This is the greatest key command I ever seen. Watch what it does. Whew! Logic just killed the game, y'all. When they made this, I can't tell you the amount of time around 2012 that we were spending on just chopping things up, finding the exact point. Logic is going in the exact point in the transient where it needs to get chopped. So don't be clicking. Yeah, isn't that nice? Isn't Logic sweet? So now you can see why by far one of the greatest key commands I've ever seen is by far Shift-Option-Command-T, which chops up my transients from last to first so I can choose specific notes and put them in reverse. You're also going to want to go into the audio editor and put a little bit of a fade on that real quick. This is how you do it. And the preceding one as well, I'm going to do the fade out just so you can hear, because I'm sure you probably heard that pop. Now it's coming in clean. And if you didn't know that one already, you're welcome. That is a great one. You can also do this, since we're in it, you can do that for every single one. And you can put as big of small of a fade as you like, in and out. You can also, I'll put a big one on there so you can see a little clearer what I'm trying to demonstrate. You can also mess with the curve, positive and negative. And this is a very valuable tool. Definitely something the producers don't want you to know. Another thing that's really great about this key command, Shift-Option-Command-T, is that when you're not working with a percussive recording as I am here, you may have something with pure melody like a guitar or a piano, and when you reverse the whole thing at once, then the notes go backwards. The great thing about chopping it up by transient is that you could select all and hit that reverse, and well, now it won't let me because one of them's already reversed, but you get the idea. You can reverse your whole thing. Oh, it is letting me. Great. You can reverse your whole melodic performance without messing up the notes. It would just make the notes backwards, but in the same melodic order, which back in the day we had to reverse those one by one. It was kind of a pain sometimes. So there you go, another gem. Okay, so now you can press J or Command J. I'm going to press Command J, and it glues it all back together. Great little key command there if you didn't already know. Another thing I'm going to show you is sometimes you're moving stuff around the grid and it doesn't want to stick right there. It's like, and it feels just like sticky or whatever. Maybe where it originally was slightly off the grid, like say right there. I'm just playing pretend because it's actually on absolute. It's snapping right to the divisions here. But say if this was somewhere in between, like a specific point in between the points that it's offering me, it's really, really hard to get in there. So what you want to do is you want to go into your snap and snap to absolute value, and then of course it's just going to drag and drop right on these guys. These division, the more obvious division points, it's going to grab onto those, and it's going to avoid the ones that are sort of in between-ish. So I find myself constantly going back and forth between these two, and so we have a rhyme and a quick command for that. A lot of time the snap gets in my way, like damn G. So just turn snap off with Command G. Alright, so we can just turn it all the way off. And I can't tell you how often I use that as I'm switching back and forth between editing modes. This may be the cause of some of your frustrations already if you're a newbie, so get on it. A lot of times that snap gets in my way, like damn G. So just turn snap off with Command G. Now if you want to get really fly and intricate into your audio chopping, you're going to want to be able to move your playhead by transients, which is what I'm doing here, moving forward by transient, as you can see. And it's just zooming in on the attack there, just right where we would want to cut it, without the least amount of pops or clicks, if any. Still want to probably crossfade, but yeah, isn't this nice? So my custom command is brackets, which is right next to the backslash and between the P and the backslash. I really like it there. In order to move as smoothly and elegantly as you just saw me moving by transient, a custom key command is needed, so you're going to need to set it to toggle between snap of absolute and relative. Okay, custom key command is needed. You're going to have to set it to toggle between snapping, absolute, and relative. Alright, and Option K will open up the key commands menu. And I'm actually not going to look for that key command. I have it mapped to Command command, comma, and period, as I was instructed by a music tech help guy. You can check out his video on key commands. It'll tell you everything you need to know. But what I wanted to show you real quick, because I'm not sure it's in that particular tutorial, is I'm going to put in forward here. We're going to see forward by transient. As you can see, I've already mapped it. If you want to map it, you just click Learn by Key Position. Be very careful while doing this, guys, and then hit that / for your forward by transient. Also, you're going to want to reverse. I believe it's reverse or rewind. It's been a while since I set this key command, but reverse by transient. Maybe we'll do rewind. It's one of those two, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But you can find the rewind by transient. There it is. And another way that you can do it is just, oops, my bad. Another way you can do it is just by typing transient and just look for forward and reverse. So that's going to be really useful. Definitely take some time to do that. Option K does not close the browser because I'm typing in there. You just close the key command menu by hitting the red in the corner. Okay, moving on. Now, once you get your track head where you want to get it by moving by transient, just hit Command T and you can instantly split it. Now, this is not going to work where the region is not selected. But again, once you get it right where you want to get it, it's only going to go forward in selected regions as well. But once you get it where you want to get it, hit Command T and you can instantly split it. So before we move on real quick, you're just going to have to set a key command to make this go back and forth between absolute and relative, okay? Mine is Shift Option comma, and I think I have to close this before it lets me do that. Shift Option comma and period. So as you can see, it's toggling between absolute and relative, so I'll just hit comma again, Shift Option comma rather, back to relative, Shift Option period, back to absolute. Okay, this is a really useful way. Just once you get that key command locked in your brain, you don't have to think about it anymore. I suggest using flashcards for this one. For some reason, it was really hard for me to remember Shift Option Command period, or to even do this at all. But you're definitely going to want to do a lot of shifting between relative and absolute value when you're doing professional editing. Now, when you select a track, it could be any track, Command U sets the cycle range up top that's moving around, that shows where it's looping. So, Command U will set the cycle range, which loops the audio right where you ordain. I ordain right here. Now this is a really useful tool. Say I want to cut this section out of this one, and this is the exact size. I can go ahead and hit Control Option T, and it splits it by the locators. Isn't that nice? I'll show you again what I did there. As I say I had this over here, and I just hit Command U, and then I selected the one above it, and Control Command T, which is, based on the Command T that we just learned. It's just a Control Command T. So I just like to think of this thing as Control anyway. It's controlling where it's looping. So Control Command T right there, and put that right back how it was. Now, it's Control and Command T to chop the cycle range out of the selected regions. So when you like the moment where you are, but you want to extend it far, repeat cycle range with Control Command R. That's right. So say I've got it right here, and I want to copy this, rather this one, and then Control Command R. Now the cool thing is, see, that was selected, but this one isn't. Control Command R will select it without having, or will repeat it without it having to be selected. To reiterate that one last time. So we start here, this isn't selected, Control Command R, I don't have to select it. But then with any region that is selected, Command R is going to repeat it indefinitely. And if you open up this editor, that's also going to be true for every kind of editor that we have, we can just repeat notes in the sequencer, as well as over here in the piano roll. Ah! Where'd we go? The cool thing about the piano roll is it copies them equidistant. So say if I put this over here on this line, and this is also a time when relative is useful. It'll put it on the relative grid. So now if you're an absolute beginner, you can see why you might be snapping back and forth between these two. Whether you want to put your drum notes exactly perfectly on the grid all the time, that's up to you. But this is definitely a technique right here that you're going to want to learn to use. Say we can select all those in multiplicity and Command R and just to our heart's delight, and it'll actually even create regions for us. I'm going to undo all that and we'll get started with the next one. Oh yeah, this also works for audio regions as well. So Command R is going to work for audio, MIDI, sequencer, whatever you like. Pretty universal, but hitting Control is going to make it so that you don't have to select what's in the cycle range. It's just going to copy whatever's in the cycle range right over. Clear? Okay, now go ahead and select a region and hit Shift Spacebar. As you can see what's happening here, go ahead and press Shift and Spacebar when you want to play from the place that you are. You see, doing this will play from whatever region is selected, which is so useful. And I'm embarrassed to say how long it was until I learned this. This will really help you out with your arrangement and just doggy paddling in general when you have a lot of different files and you don't have to move this around anymore, which, you know, was my go-to until I learned this one. And it wasn't as long ago as I wish it was. Please use this. Save yourself some trouble. Just select the audio track and train your hand to do that shift spacebar thing. It's very worth it. Command plus comma will open your settings menu, which is too much to cover right now, so I'll continue. Now, let's go into File and go all the way down to Project Settings. Now, this one is only for your current session. We're going to go to MIDI. So click on MIDI and next detect the Chase tab. There it is, and click Notes and Sustained. All right. And if you have trouble finding this, don't worry, I wrote you a little rhyme. So click on MIDI and next select the Chase tab, because if you don't check Notes and Sustained, it will make you sad. It'll actually probably make you mad as well. And if you're absolute beginner, you're like, why? What happens? Now with Chase, the MIDI notes still play. We don't have any MIDI notes here. I'll make a couple. So with Chase on, the MIDI notes are still going to play even when you start them in the middle. Now, if it wasn't on Chase, it would only play the note when I started at the beginning of the note, like so. And the reason, I'm not going to go back into it and demonstrate right now because we're almost done, but basically what Chase allows you to do is to start in the middle of the note and it still makes sound. You gotta click on MIDI, next select the Chase tab, because if you don't check Notes and Sustained, it will make you mad. Incidentally, this is the way that Ableton just works normally. I'm not certain, but I imagine that a lot of people complained, why doesn't it start in the middle of the note like Ableton? And so eventually Logic fixed that, but they didn't want to make it the stock way of doing things, so you have to go in here, File, Project Settings, into the Chase tab, hit the Notes and Sustained, or it will make you mad. I cannot about is different projects may require separate settings and rules, so remember that when deciding which template to use. Okay, so use Control-T to make an aux track change in a way that it's now can be used in the arrange. What could that mean? First of all, I'm going to hit X For the brand new Logic users, this is how you open up your mixer. And I already have an aux track, but I'm going to show you how it gets created. You just go bus and create a new one. Bam, it just pops right up. I don't need that one right now, so I'll get rid of it. But see, this guy right here doesn't show up in my arrange window very well, does he? So since I don't, we're going to do Control T, makes the occ track change in the way that it now can be viewed in the arrange, which is wonderful because if you hit A, then I now can access all of the automation for this aux track and any VSTs I put on it as well, or audio units, effects, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to undo that because I don't generally like to have my aux in the arrange while I'm building a song, but when it's all done, it's really useful to have that so you can automate everything, if not just only the volume. Shift Command M, as I'm doing here, reveals my master channel, which makes what we're chasing after tangible. It's very useful to have this master channel here for automation and lots of other volume adjustments, panning, anything you could basically dream of, and that's going to be Shift Command M. That one took me a long time to learn, so I made you that rhyme. Shift Command M reveals my master channel, which makes what we were chasing after tangible. So that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for hanging on. It is my very first video for this tutorial channel. Please like and subscribe so we can keep more of them coming at you. I really enjoy doing this, and gosh, I have so much more intermediate and advanced stuff to share once we cover these basics. Thanks again, and don't forget to write some comments. Tell me what you think. Have a great day.